Ashish Guha, CEO and MD of Heidelberg Cement, joins us from Delhi, and Sanjay Ladiwala, Chairman of the Cement Stockists and Dealers Association of Bombay Johnson, in our studio as well. Good having you, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining in. Mr. Guha, come to you first. Reports suggest that there has been price correction that has happened in the last 15 to 20 days because of, well, sluggish demand, so to say. Have you cut prices, and do you foresee further price corrections if you haven't taken price cuts already?
No, we have cut prices in some areas, and we have increased prices in some areas. So it depends from area to area. And I don't think the demand has been pretty sluggish. The demand, if you compare it for first 4 months of this year to that of last year, there has been a growth. And the growth has been significant in our mind. You know, we were talking about a 7% growth for the whole year. And it seems the first 4 months indicate a higher growth for us. Maybe we are in different markets, and in different regions the price corrections have been, you know, somewhat effective. In some of the markets it's larger than in the others, and in some markets we have seen price increases. So right. It's upon the, you know, the current demand and situation in that particular area.
Mr. Guha, we have reports suggesting that given your exposure to the central region, there are talks that you know, there's unavailability of railway wagons, which is disrupting dispatches and supplies. Is there any truth to that? Is that creating an issue for you?
Well, it did create an issue in February and March to a certain degree, but now I think all the, you know, logistics arrangements from the railways are pretty good. We are getting rates as far as indents, and I have not heard of any major bottlenecks.
Ladiwala, for the industry as a whole, and we'll come back to Mr. Guha's view on what areas are seeing demand strength and what areas are seeing demand weakness. But from an industry perspective, for some of the other companies as well, based on the kind of conversations that you had, have there been price correction generally in the western region? And two, what's the price trend looking like for a couple of regions, south and west, that you predominantly focus on?
Well, yes, there have been some corrections in the west. Not very substantial, because they had gone up substantially. So there has been correction. We are seeing areas like Gujarat and some parts of Maharashtra where there has been a correction of about 15 rupees per bag. South is holding strong, but again, region-wise, like Andhra and all, have seen certain corrections of up to 5 to 10 rupees a bag. The east region is holding very strong. The prices are substantially higher and seem to be holding pretty good.
Right. Mr. Ladiwala, how would you kind of map the performance that dispatches might see over the next 3 to 6 months? You know, because if there is lower demand, then there's going to be lesser production at lower utilization levels. In that light, stepping into the monsoons, and we're also stepping into the monsoon season incidentally. So what is the expectation on how dispatches would pan out over the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, we are unfortunately seeing a slowing down of dispatches even as we speak. And the monsoon seems to be pretty heavy on the demand side. So 3 to 6 months, I think the dispatches would be much lower. Of course, I'm not talking about month to month, but for the entire period. And there are a lot of issues, not logistical though, but finance issues, political issues, due to which demand is seeing a lot of fluctuations in many regions. So I think dispatches will be impacted adversely in the next 3 to 6 months.
Mr. Guha, could you support that with some numbers on how much for Heidelberg Cement as well you expect dispatches to slow down by over the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, you know, next 3 to 6 months, you know, majority part of that is monsoons. So anyway, we see every year the dispatches are impacted a bit. So I don't think it's going to be a significant impact on dispatches. It will be seasonal as it's observed every year. And beyond, you know, September, we start seeing growth. So if you say from May to October, I am not seeing significant decreases in dispatch year on year. Obviously, from the months of March or May, which are high season months for cement dispatches, it will be lower. But that's seasonal, that's yearly, and I don't see any significant impact on dispatches on a proportional basis.
Mr. Guha, you know, contrary, I mean, what you're saying is quite in contrast to the kind of talk that at least the reports have suggested. Am I understanding it correctly? You are saying that price cuts have not been too significant if you look at various geographies, and two, you do believe that the months ahead would see a price correction, if at all, based on how normally the prices go down a little bit because of monsoons. No significant demand destruction is being witnessed.
I am saying seasonal demand destruction.
Right.
But I'm not seeing any other factors which are coming into, the individual house builders are not going to build house. It's going to be seasonal. Monsoons are definitely weak months for the cement manufacturer, and we are going to see that kind of an impact. I'm not seeing huge, a disproportionate kind of decrease in dispatches year over year.
And that would probably lead to there not being disproportionate price decreases as well. Am I understanding it correctly?
Okay, let me put it this way. The price increases have been quite significant, but the price increases have been significant due to cost increases. The costs have increased so much in the past few months on various factors and inputs that we have not been able to pass it on earlier, which we have been able to pass on in the past few months. Now, there might be some disproportionate price decreases, but I am not expecting such a move. I am expecting prices to be stable, may go down a little, but not very significantly.
Right. How does that impact, the fact that you're expanding capacity at this point? You're doubling your capacity. In fact, does the state of your expansion plans remain the same? And what is the outlook as far as when do you see a pickup really come by for the industry?
Okay. We are expecting our to start from June or July of this year. Obviously, we hit the monsoon months at that point of time. We have planned accordingly. We don't expect, initially huge dispatches coming our way. So we will plan accordingly to hit the market. If you talk about cement in the long term, I don't see it as a problem area. I hear NHAI has already given 90% of its orders, which is about 7,300 kilometers over the past few months. I saw in the plan allocation, we've gone up from to about $1 trillion the next plan, and if your majority comes to infrastructure. If that happens, even if a significant portion of that happens, I don't see cement really being hurt for over a long time. Anyway, it's a cyclical business. We have seen the cycle for the last 2 years. On the downside, we are expecting some kind of an uptick from this year end or 2013 for sure.
Right, Mr. Ladiwala, you spoke about the stability that the eastern region is providing right now. Do you believe that the pickup in demand over there is strong enough for some of the key players to kind of direct their supplies? What's the outlook on how that may impact the overall trend of prices as well as demand?
Well, the demand there is pretty high, but it's not going to impact the trend in prices because the consumption in the eastern region is very insignificant. It's about 7 to 8% of the total capacity. So it really does not impact the rest of the country as far as prices are concerned. Even logistically, it's a little difficult to reach the east and the northeast. So quantity-wise, it doesn't make a difference. It does not impact the rest of the country, the prices. However, I'm not that optimistic as far as pricing is concerned because I think there is substantial headroom for correction. The increases have not been cost-driven. They have mainly been demand-driven till now. And if demand is not forthcoming at the pace at which it has been till date, it might see a correction in the substantial headroom that is there in the prices. Though it may be cyclical, it may be propped up by the so-called monsoon effect, but it will be, I think, substantial.